I cheated on my boyfriend with the same woman he met almost daily, and I'm glad I did it. And before you say anything, I know how that sounds. I know. But if you knew what my life looked like for the 2 years I spent with him, you'd understand why I have zero regrets about any of it. We got together when I was 22. He was charming at first, funny, attentive, the kind of guy who remembers your coffee order and shows up with it unannounced. I thought I'd found something real, and for maybe the first 6 months, it was. But then slowly, so slowly I barely noticed, things started shifting. The comments started small, little jabs about the way I dressed, the way I laughed too loud in public, the way I spent money. Then it moved to my body, my job, my friends. He had a way of framing everything as just being honest, or trying to help me be better. And I believed him for longer than I want to admit, because by the time he was doing it daily, I had already stopped trusting my own judgment. That is the thing about that kind of relationship. You do not see the walls going up because you are the one inside them. I started shrinking, stopped going out as much, lost contact with 2 of my closest friends because he had made things so uncomfortable whenever they came around that it was easier to just stop inviting them. I was working, coming home, cooking dinner, and waiting for him to either be in a good mood or not. That was my life. He started going to this coffee shop on the way to work every single morning. I thought nothing of it. But then I noticed he was always in a better mood those mornings than he ever was with me. Lighter, almost like a different person. And then one evening, his phone buzzed on the counter while he was in the shower. I was not snooping. I just saw it. A notification from a name with no last name. Just a single name. He had never mentioned her. I did not confront him or go through his phone. I just sat with it and watched. He went to that coffee shop every single morning without fail. Never invited me. Never mentioned it. Just, I am grabbing coffee before work and out the door. So one morning, I followed him. I parked down the street and watched him walk in. I waited a few minutes and went in behind him. He was already at the counter talking to her. She was the barista. Tall, sleeve tattoos up both arms, dark hair pulled back. She was laughing at something he said, and he was leaning on the counter like he owned the place. I watched her hand him his cup. She knew his order without asking. I left before he saw me, but I could not stop thinking about her, not even in a jealous way at first. There was just something about the way she carried herself that I could not shake. She seemed so at ease, comfortable in her own skin in a way I had not felt in years. I went back the next day while he was already at work. I ordered something and stood at the counter waiting. She made my drink wrong, and when I mentioned it, she did not get defensive. She just said, "Oh my god, I am so sorry," and remade it immediately and slid a free pastry across the counter. It was such a small thing, but I almost cried standing there because I had not been spoken to that gently in so long I had forgotten what it felt like. We started talking. It became a regular thing. I would come in a few times a week when I knew he would not be there. She was easy to talk to in a way that felt effortless. She remembered things I had mentioned offhand, that I was stressed about a deadline, that my sister had called, that I hated the syrup they switched to in October. She just paid attention. About 3 weeks in, I mentioned something my boyfriend had said the night before. Not even the worst thing, just something cutting about dinner I had made. And she paused and said, "Wait, what is his name?" I told her. Her whole face changed. She said he came in every morning, that he talked a lot, too much, and that most of what he talked about was me. Not in a loving way, in a way that made her uncomfortable. She said she always felt bad for whoever his girlfriend was. Then she looked at me and quietly asked, "Is that you?" I said yes. She did not say anything dramatic. She just reached across the counter and said, "You deserve so much better than what he says about you." I went home and did not sleep. I came back the next day, and the day after that. She started saving me the stool at the far end of the counter during her break. We would sit and talk for 20 minutes before she had to get back. It stopped being about him entirely. It became about us just existing in the same space and neither of us wanting to leave. 3 weeks later, she kissed me in the parking lot after her shift. I had not seen it coming, and I also completely had. I stood there in the cold and felt something in my chest go quiet for the first time in 2 years. I went home. He was on the couch watching TV, did not look up when I walked in. I went to the bedroom and started packing my bags.